For 7 months, one of the most feared cybercrime groups on the planet was operating with a fatal secret. Someone was inside their network, watching their every move, copying their every file, tracking their every victim. But this intruder wasn't a rival gang trying to steal their turf. It was the FBI. And they weren't there to steal data. They were there to stage the biggest cyber heist reversal in history. This isn't a movie plot. This is the true story of how law enforcement turned the tables on the digital underworld in an operation they called a 21st century cyber stakeout. They didn't just catch the criminals, they became ghosts in their machine, dismantling a massive criminal empire from the inside out, and in the process, saving victims over $130 million. To understand just how monumental this was, you first have to understand the monster they were fighting. The group was called Hive. And between 2021 and early 2023, they were a digital plague. They weren't just a handful of hackers in a basement. They were a global menace, hitting more than 1,500 victims in over 80 countries. Their business was ransomware, a particularly vicious form of cyber attack where they break into a network, encrypt everything, and then demand a fortune to give it back. And Hive was brutally effective. The Justice Department confirmed they collected over $100 million in ransom payments from their victims. But the targets they chose made them especially despicable. They didn't just go after big, faceless corporations. They hit hospitals during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, forcing them to turn away patients. They crippled school districts, locking up student data and grinding education to a halt. They attacked financial firms and critical infrastructure, the very systems we all rely on every single day. The FBI ranked them as one of the top 5 most active and dangerous ransomware threats in the world. They were a force of pure digital chaos. But here's where it gets really interesting. The FBI discovered that Hive wasn't structured like a typical criminal gang. At the top, it was structured more like a McDonald's. It operated on a model called Ransomware as a Service, or RAAS. Think of it like a criminal franchise. At the top, you had the core administrators. These were the developers, the brains of the operation. They wrote the malicious software, the encryption code that locked up victims' files. They maintained the darknet websites and the servers needed to run the whole show. They were the corporate headquarters. This was a sprawl, but they didn't carry out the attacks themselves. For that, they had affiliates. This was a sprawling, decentralized network of independent hackers from all over the world. It was slow. The Hive administrators would essentially lease their ransomware toolkit to these affiliates. The affiliates would then find their own targets, break into their networks, and deploy the Hive ransomware. When a victim paid the ransom, the money was split. This franchise model is what made them so powerful and so difficult to fight. A food services company spared a $10 million extortion. In one single operation, the FBI prevented an amount equal to nearly 30% of the entire global ransom market. The affiliate would typically take about 80%, and the remaining 20% would go back to the Hive administrators. This franchise model is what made them so powerful and so difficult to fight. You couldn't just arrest one person and shut it down. There were hundreds of affiliates, all acting independently. Taking out one was like closing a single McDonald's location. The brand and the rest of the network would just keep going. To stop Hive, you couldn't just go after the franchisees. You had to burn down the corporate headquarters. And that's exactly what the FBI decided to do. In late July of 2022, they found a way in. We don't know the exact technical method, and for good reason. They want to be able to use it again. But we know they gained clandestine, persistent access to Hive's back-end computer networks. They were inside. A team of elite hackers in a dark room, furiously typing code, navigating digital tripwires. FBI agents in Los Angeles physically seized the servers that were hosting Hive's back-end infrastructure. Simultaneously, German and Dutch police took down other servers across Europe. The cyber stakeout had begun. Now, you might be picturing a scene from a movie. A team of elite hackers in a dark room, furiously typing code, navigating digital tripwires. But according to the agents involved, the breakthrough came from something far less glamorous. They credited their success to what they called really basic investigative activity that doesn't make for great TV, but makes for great cases. They interviewed every single company, every hospital, every school that came forward. We saw an earlier version of this when the FBI got the keys for the evil ransomware group, and we've seen it in actions against the other groups like Lockbit. The story of the Hive takedown is the story of a new kind of war. They didn't just focus on the code, they focused on the victims. They interviewed every single company, every hospital, every school that came forward. They painstakingly collected data, piecing together clues, looking for patterns in how Hive's affiliates operated, how they communicated, and how they managed their criminal enterprise. It was slow, methodical detective work applied to the digital age. And through that process, they built a complete intelligence picture of the entire Hive network. And this led to the game-changing moment. Their position inside Hive servers gave them an extraordinary power. They could see when an affiliate deployed the ransomware on a new victim. They could see attacks as they were happening. And most importantly, they could see the decryption keys that Hive's system generated for each victim. They could see when an affiliate deployed the ransomware on a new victim. And most importantly, they could see the decryption keys that Hive's system generated for each victim. As soon as they saw a new victim get hit, they would proactively reach out. These keys were the digital cure to Hive's digital disease. So the FBI started doing something unprecedented. As soon as they saw a new victim get hit, they would proactively reach out. Imagine you're the IT director for a hospital. It's the worst day of your career. Your entire network is frozen. A ransom note is demanding millions of dollars you don't have.